Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Ayana Audible. Today, I have another special guest, and she happens to be my yoga instructor, Laela.
I'm happy to be here.
Hi, Laela.
Hi.
How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to have you here.
I'm happy
finally.
to be here.
You look nice.
Thank you.
Glowing.
Thank you. Not in my yoga gear per
I
usual,
know,
right?
I haven't seen you outside of class, so
I was thinking about that. I'm like, I have on lipstick and
You look
mascara.
nice.
I don't really do this often.
You came ready for the camera. Okay?
I came ready.
My first question is, what is the type of yoga you have the most experience in?
So my first certification was in Vinyasa yoga, which it literally just means to link your breath to your movement. So with every movement, there's an inhale. With every movement, there's an exhale. But you probably know as well, I'm also certified in pregnancy and postpartum. So I actually really enjoy teaching pregnancy yoga, but Vinyasa is for everyone. So I try to market that the most.
So can you tell me where you from? I mean, I know, but I want my people to know. Where you from, where you grew up.
All right. Yeah. So I was born in Detroit, Michigan. I lived in Michigan for almost 25 years, and then I moved to California, which was now 7 years ago. And I lived in San Diego for 1 year, and I've been in LA for 6 years now.
Okay.
Yep.
You love it out here or what?
I love the weather, girl. There's no salt stains on my boots. I don't have to start a car.
It snows in Detroit, right?
Ooh, it's understatement. We're surrounded by the Great Lakes, so it gets below zero, and nothing stops when it snows like that. People expect you to be at work on time. You're outside scraping your windshield, starting your car early, sliding through stop signs, holding onto the steering wheel like, I might not make it today, but hopefully I do.
I will be able to live through that.
Yes.
How can you tell if you've taught a successful class? Wait, first of all, how long have you been teaching certified classes?
I've been teaching for 3.5 years now, since becoming certified. And I would say you can tell just by the look on someone's face. Sometimes they come in. I'm an energy reader as well. So when people come into the class, I can always feel when their energy is lighter at the end. Sometimes they'll just come up to you and say, that was a great class. And you're like, yes, I knew it.
Me.
Yeah, I love it. But other times it's just in how they leave. They might walk in tense, shoulders here without realizing it. And sometimes it just takes those few rounds of breath and you can already tell that someone has settled into their spirit. So it's a feeling more so than a gratitude or someone telling you.
Yeah. Because I've definitely, every class I'll be wanting to go, but it's been times where I had to force myself, like, get your ass up and go. Because, you're going to feel good after. I always feel good after your classes, every time. So I don't never regret it, ever.
You make a good point because I tell my students that 70% of the battle is showing up.
Yeah.
Once you're there, then you're going to leave feeling better than when you came, you know? But getting there and wanting to show up for yourself, that's more than half the battle, for sure.
So how long have you been practicing yoga in your personal life?
Ooh, so I really only practiced yoga for several months before taking a teacher training. I've always been an athlete. I played 3 sports in high school. I was a pitcher in college.
Okay.
So athleticism has always just come to me. And I wasn't taking yoga classes, but I was really obsessed with doing inversions, which is, flipping upside down. So standing on my head, I was doing handstands. And it got to the point where when I was sharing that on social media, people were asking me like, oh, could you teach me how to do that? And I'm like, well, I don't want to get sued. I'm not certified. So maybe I should look into, taking a teacher training. And it really changed my life because, I think we have this perception of what yoga is. And usually when we see it on TV, it's someone sitting cross-legged with their fingers connected and going, Om. And that's all we know. We're like, if I can't bend into a pretzel, I'm not taking a yoga class. So my mission with yoga is showing people that it is for everybody at every age, stage, regardless of if you have a lot of money or if you don't have any money at all. I try to make yoga affordable because I think I wish that I had it a lot earlier in my life than when I took teacher training at 28. you know?
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it's very, you do free classes.
Yes.
So I think that's really dope to give your time to people, your expertise, you know what I'm saying, to people.
Yes.
And that should be costing what, $60-$70 like at a studio, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
And
that's nice.
I would say I like to make it the donation,
Yeah.
I especially after COVID. I mean, I want to
Yeah.
make that part of the conversation, but it's really hard since COVID to get people to show up for a public community class.
Yeah.
People are starting to show up again for self-care in other areas like a massage or a facial.
Yeah.
But to get people to want to show up and sweat and work out in a community, it has changed a lot in the last year and a half. So my idea was, let me just get outdoors and let people know, even if they can't afford to take the class, if you can throw $2 in, if not next time, I've always been about giving back. But those certifications, they ain't cheap. I'm not going to lie to you. Those certifications are not cheap. And you have to be insured. So every month I'm paying, insurance costs as well to make sure.
For like injuries and stuff like that.
To be able to put my hands on people and liability.
So what are the ultimate benefits?
Ooh, I think the number one thing is we did just before this interview began is taking a moment to take your breath out of autopilot. A lot of people laugh because there are some people who actually only teach breathwork classes. And people are like, how are you going to teach me how to breathe? I was born breathing.
Right. That's a fact.
It is, right? But how often do we actually, I kind of like the comparison of a meditation when you're driving home and you pull in the driveway and you're like, oh, did I run any red lights? I don't even remember getting here.
I have those thoughts.
Yes, girl. That's meditation.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes for when we're breathing. We seldom stop throughout the day and just like, am I breathing fully? Am I using the full capacity of my lungs? And if you just stop, if you don't want to do 5 minutes of meditation, you don't want to ever show up for a yoga class, I'll tell you at least take 1 minute a day just to slow down and take a deep inhale through your nose. Really fill up your belly to your lungs and then let it all out. It'll have you feeling so different.
Yes, meditation. So how does that play a part in yoga? How do you think like that correlates with each other?
So I think that's another kind of stereotype with meditation is, once again, we think that we have to be still and that our minds have to be quiet and we have to have music playing. But meditation is actually any time that your drishti, or which is just Sanskrit for your focal point, is just completely on one thing. So meditation is when you're driving. Meditation is when you're cutting vegetables before you cook a meal. Meditation is when you're writing, by hand. Meditation is drawing, artwork. Meditation is anything that requires your full focus. And me personally, my mind is always running 1,000 miles a minute. So
same, girl.
Yes.
Lord have
yoga
mercy.
For me, it's like it brings me back to that center. And that's specifically why I love the more challenging postures, like inversions, because all of your focus, like as you know, if we're doing crow pose, you can't be thinking about what you're making for dinner. You might lose your front teeth trying to balance on your hands.
Exactly. Definitely. I like that you said you could be driving and meditating and not even like be paying attention, but somehow you still got home safe or like wherever to your destination safe. Like I think that's so crazy how the mind works like that. So my next question is like, because sometimes I have hard times like if I want to sit down and meditate, I can't shut off what's going on. I don't think that's the goal though. I think it's to just let it pass.
Yep.
And sometimes the meditations are successful and sometimes they're not. They're more like my thoughts are more potent. In those cases, what do you suggest?
So I think it's the same thing when it comes to going to a yoga class. Showing up is half the battle. The fact that you sat down and just you saw where your body was at. So when I teach a yoga posture and I give off cues of what your alignment should look like, I do the same thing when I know my mind is not ready for a meditation, which is I start from my toes and I go all the way up to my head. So if my mind's thinking about everything I have to do for the rest of the day and I know it's not going to be quiet during this meditation, then I'm just going to be like, okay, well, what does my body feel like right now? I might do like close my eyes and wiggle my toes a bit or move my ankles and then imagine that I'm tracing up every inch of my body, which does a couple things. One, it takes you from your mind wandering to other places, which it's natural for your mind to wander. It's just about reeling it back in when it does. And two, it gives you time to just remind yourself that you have this fascinating body that's working so hard for you every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And we're always thinking about what we don't have usually, what we need to work on, but we forget all of the beautiful things that we do have already, like our heart pumping for us every day, the fact that we can fully inhale and breathe. There's people, on oxygen tanks, etc. So just in those moments, it can make you feel so appreciative for what you do have, even if you came into it with a lack mindset, as I like to call it, trying to get out of that lack.
So it's safe to say you don't have to necessarily be like, to meditate.
Exactly. Right.
It's just about focus, finding some type of focus and not letting the thoughts and the chatter in your brain take over.
And sometimes, though, those thoughts are your, regardless of if you're religious, if you believe in God, if you believe in angels, whatever, I believe that a meditation is a time where, like, that's when you're the most connected with source. Whatever your source may be, whether it's your own spirit, you think God exists within you, those thoughts sometimes are downloads, as I like to call them. So if your mind is going to a certain place over and over, that might be a signal. There may be someone you haven't talked to in 3 months who pops in your mind during meditation. That can be a message or a download, as I call it, to reach out to that person. Maybe they really needed to hear from you and you don't know. And that was your time, your space to slow down, quiet down, and you got a little message, a little token that you weren't even expecting. Yeah.
What if that person is not good for you? I don't know about that.
Then that could be a download. They about to reach out to you, girl.
I don't know. Sometimes you can't act on that.
That's very true.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, I don't know. What would you say is your greatest weaknesses, and what are you doing to improve them?
My greatest weakness would have to be comparison.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyone who says that they're never jealous or never envious, I call bullshit. Like, I'm sorry. Like, we're human beings. We have eyes for a reason. We compare, we judge, we do all of these things. But it's about what you do with it, or noticing what those emotions are when you're comparing yourself. So for me, as you know, I've gotten off of social media.
Yeah.
I have a YouTube that's monetized, so like that's a little different. Plus, I'm not spending all day scrolling on YouTube. I'm uploading and then I keep the day moving. But I would say that's been the biggest thing for me, especially as a small business. We feel as though we need social media to thrive nowadays. Everything is online. So I had to get to a point where, what's the cost? What's the benefit?
Yeah.
And the benefits of the new students coming in and the money wasn't equating or, overriding the cost for my mental health. I just simply couldn't find that happy medium of being on social media. And sometimes you just got to admit to yourself what works for you and what doesn't. So biggest weakness would be comparison. And what better place to compare yourself than on social media? So I had to remove, I'm like, I can't control how other people are, but I can only control my actions. So all I really could do was remove myself from it.
Yeah. And I think social media is such an important thing right now in our generation. So I could see what you mean and what you feel when you say that, because it will be inhumane for somebody to say, oh, I don't get jealous, or I don't feel some type of way. Or
right.
we wake up every day and we hop on there. We have no choice but to compare ourselves to even our family and friends sometimes. You never, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, exactly.
It sucks, but that's the reality we living in right now. But
it really
takes a strong person to really be like, you know what?
Yeah.
I got a business, but I don't even need to be on social media to thrive.
I like to believe that word of mouth is still alive.
It is.
It's just hard to even communicate because, if you're not on social media, that's where all your peers are. I had to realize that, one, your peers are not necessarily your target audience when it comes to growing a business, because your friends and your family aren't necessarily going to be the first people to support your business.
Yeah.
So once you let go of that, expecting everyone to be sharing your business and showing up for a class or whatever, then it's like, okay, then you can focus on the people who really do need what you're offering. And there's always people out there who need that niche service that you're giving.
Yeah. I used to get caught up in that too. Like, oh, they're not supporting that.
Right.
It's just petty, because it's like they might not like it genuinely, or they might not need it, or it might not be something they're interested in.
You're not the first person to say that to me. I'm going to play devil's advocate here and say, it costs nothing to support your friends on social media.
You right about that.
So even if I don't like yoga or I don't want to go on 20-mile bike rides or join your hiking group, it costs me nothing to share to my story or to my feed what you're doing and what you're putting out. Because there might be, even if I'm not interested, there might be someone on my timeline who's interested.
Yeah.
And that's just me showing support. And it's free.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that it's free.
That's a fact.
You know,
I was going to give y'all some grace, but she said it. Shit. So, in your opinion, what makes your classes unique?
Ooh,
I could tell y'all, but I want you to answer.
Okay, I'm excited. I'm interested in hearing your answer. Okay, in person, my classes, and this is something I've struggled with as well since everything's moved to virtual.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the things that make me a good teacher are the ambiance.
Yes.
I come with the oils.
Mm-hmm.
I come with the stones.
The music.
My playlist, girl.
Be banging.
My playlist. And so all the things I love, because a lot goes into curating a class and just getting up for 60 to 75 minutes and speaking in front of people from your heart, and then hoping it resonates with them and that they leave feeling a little better, leave with something that they didn't have before they got there. And my classes, I love just the sequencing portion of it. I want the music and the vibrations to resonate with you. So if we're sweating and we're trying to balance in a strength pose, I want that music to be firing you up.
Mm-hmm.
I want the cues. I want to correlate and weave into the class a story that's going to resonate with your spirit. Like, okay, yeah. It isn't just about, yoga isn't. So there are 8 sutras of yoga, and the physical practice is only 1. So yoga is a lot more. It's about diet. It's about how we move in the world outside, off of our mats. And a lot of what we learn on our mats, we can use in our everyday lives. So trying to leave people with the little gems, trying to drop in little pieces of knowledge that people don't think is woo-woo if I just try to randomly bring it up online.
Yeah.
The sound bowls. I love the
that's my favorite part.
Yes, down to, hand massage, to slight neck adjustments. That's what makes my classes, I feel like, unique.
I would agree with all that.
Yes.
Most definitely. But my favorite part is the sound bowl.
Yeah.
My favorite part.
I almost brought it today. I'm like, I wonder if she wants me to bring it.
You could have, girl. See? You could have had this all set up. And I like how he got the candle already.
I should have brought my bowl. Okay. See, next time.
Next time for sure. What's the most important skill that you feel that each yoga instructor should possess?
I think humility is one.
Yeah.
Knowing that we're not perfect as well. I don't think you have to be the best at every posture to be a great teacher. Some teachers, they just get up in front of the class and they talk. They don't have any music, and their voice is their instrument. Other teachers are really good with alignment cues, because if you look around the class, and when you're a new teacher, you get nervous because you're taught, okay, start from the toe to the head, and you give them 2 cues. Even though you learn 45 cues in the body for every one posture, you only can say about 2 before you move on to the next exhale. So knowing how to say things where it's going to resonate without maybe calling someone out in class, knowing that, humbling yourself and realizing I'm not doing everything perfect while I'm telling you to do something perfectly. So a lot of times during class, I'll check in like, what's off in my body? And then I think if it's off in my body, it's probably off in one of my students' body. And then that's a cue to me to send it out to them. So just an awareness, a lack of being rigid, which I can be in my, like, I'm very organized. I'm super early for everything. That's always how I've been. So like letting some of that go in yoga class, sometimes you'll come in with a sequence, especially as a new teacher, you're supposed to be prepared with a sequence for the class. You have a warm up, you have your heat, you have a peak posture that we're working to, and then a cool down. And if you come into a class, sometimes with an all levels class, I've had a 78-year-old in class before, and I've had a 16-year-old, and they're all in the same class. So everyone has different abilities.
Right.
So I may have come in with, we're going to do Balasana, crow pose today. But then I look around the room and I'm like, that's not going to be an option today. So just like throwing out the window whatever I came in with and reading the room. That energy is everything.
Yeah.
Like some people come in, they're tired. So that sweaty class that I had planned is not what we're going to be doing anymore. And then when I see you moving, then that might take me off like, okay, they definitely need a little bit of this. So being less rigid and structured and more just open to receiving what your students' nonverbal cues are saying to you.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And I like when you always ask, what is it that you want to work on today? Because sometimes we end up working on what I need. Sometimes it doesn't, but it still benefits me regardless.
Yep.
But I like when you ask that because sometimes you'll structure the class regarding whatever it is that's bothering us if it's all in alignment. So
you got it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
How much yoga do you think a person has to have to get stronger, more flexible?
Ideally, I think you should practice yoga at least 3 times a week. And that's just because yoga is this delicate balance of strength meets flexibility, meets knowing to not hold your breath when you're being challenged. So a lot of moves, which translate over to any other fitness thing you do, flexibility takes time. Some people will say, oh, born flexible. I'm born athletic, but I wasn't born flexible. It's taking years and I'm still not the most flexible person. And the more consistent you are with anything, you're going to get better. Exactly. But I would say at least 3. I would want to say 4, but 3 times a week, just 30 minutes. And even if your practice looks like showing up, putting on your sweatpants and socks and laying on a bolster in Supta Baddha Konasana or reclined cobbler's pose, which people are probably like, what is she talking about right now?
Look it up.
Putting your soles of your feet together and just laying on a bolster. If that's what yoga looks like for you that day, honor that. It's all about honoring your body. It doesn't have to be this power flow. I'm sweating. And that's the number one reason that I love yoga is because I grew up so competitive, playing a lot of sports. And when I started practicing yoga, I realized I'm not in competition with anybody. You can't be in competition with the person next to you on your mat. You might, tear your ACL.
Yeah.
So you can only show up and try to be better than you were yesterday. But if you're not feeling it that day, you have to honor your body. So yoga is a very humbling experience for someone who wants to be the best athlete or wants to be the most competitive because you can't take it that far every day.
Do you think it's a good replacement if you don't want to work out?
Yes,
okay.
A wonderful.
People can lose weight.
Okay. You can build long, lean muscles because you might see someone in a Warrior One pose and be like, they ain't working that hard. And then I'm like, come over here, let's get in Warrior One.
All right.
Next thing you know, your hands shaking, your knees are shaking. Yeah, it's very much a workout.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
I know. Man, it be times where I get it one day and then the next practice I don't got it. I'll be like, damn. What's the most rewarding thing in yoga to you?
I would say to see the growth because it is so small. The flexibility. Sometimes, like the other day, I did a pose and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I could do that. I was really proud of myself. And it takes years to be able to get to certain things.
Like small little accomplishments.
Exactly. It's not, training for a marathon, that type of thing. But it's not something that you can be like, all right, in 90 days, I'm going to be 90 days to my press handstand. It may take you 9 years to press into a handstand, or you may never press into a handstand,
Yeah.
So it all comes back to that humbling experience, but that's what I love about it.
How do the chakras in yoga go together?
I love that you said that. All right. So the first way to remember the 7 chakras, because I feel like it's hard to remember them. So a lot of times in elementary school, we're taught Roy G. Biv. I don't know if you remember that, the colors of the rainbow. That's the exact order of the 7 chakras from your root through your crown. So the R, that's red for your root. The orange is for your sacral. The yellow is for your solar plexus, which is like just beneath your ribs and between your belly button. The G is green for your heart. Roy G. Biv. Blue is for your throat chakra. Indigo for your third eye. And then violet for your crown.
And those are the main chakras because there are more, right?
I only know of those 7 chakras, but if there are more,
I've read that there are supposedly more. Like those are the main ones, but they're like
teaching me something now.
Yeah, I've read that there are more. I don't know what all they are, but I read that there are more. But yeah,
yes, and a lot of times we can find a lot of people believe. Well, we are energetic beings.
Yeah,
and different emotions people can believe are stored in different parts of your body. So a lot of times different frequencies, like that crystal singing bowl that I play, that's 432 hertz, which is specifically for your heart chakra. So if you're going through a heartbreak, or maybe you're just not feeling very loving, or you are looking for love, the right kind, you know what I mean? All of that can resonate. And what I used to love with my public classes is when you play that frequency, I would ask everyone to close their eyes. And while I'm playing, wherever you feel that frequency vibrating in your body, like put your hand there. And it's interesting to me to see the different places. It's usually on one of the chakras where people end up putting their hand, where it's resonating for them. And usually that can be somewhere where you're opening that chakra, or it could be where you have a blockage, but it's always interesting to see how we interpret it differently in each of our individual bodies.
Yeah. So when you talk about aligning the chakras in yoga or like meditation, how does that all relate? Because some people think that they're working on their chakras, but they don't meditate, or they don't do yoga, or they don't, you know what I'm saying?
Ooh, this is a deep. Okay. We can store traumas in our bodies. So sometimes, for womb health specifically, because I'm also a doula, and with pregnancy, we focus a lot on womb wellness. And, that can be your root to your sacral chakra. That's where you hold your sexual power. That's where you hold your past partners, your current partners. We store those energies. Even if you're not physically with someone anymore, you're walking around carrying their energy still. And so sometimes we're like, why do I keep thinking of that person in my meditation? It's because you stored them, and
I need to clean out my sacred. Like, for real.
Yes.
Damn.
Yes. And they each usually have different words. So like, the yellow is, you think of the sun, power, and that's what your solar plexus is. It's your power, your personal power, how you navigate. Maybe for someone, they're a yes woman or a yes man. And so learning how to say no might help unlock that personal power, because you're not running around doing everything for everyone else, leaving, burning the candle at both ends. The root can be, grounding yourself, because the earth has electromagnetic fields, right?
Yeah.
And grounding is taking your bare feet and putting your feet on the ground. We're not technically supposed to live 30 stories in the air. We're supposed to take time.
Floor 25.
You got it.
You got to sometimes take your shoes off and walk in the grass.
It has healing powers.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a fact. So, okay. So I'm asking for myself and also for whoever's watching, of course. But when you talk about the chakras, right, and you want to talk about working on them, do you have to start at the bottom, or do you start wherever you feel like needs the most work?
Exactly. Wherever you think needs the most work.
Okay.
For some people, if you feel like you're going through a spiritual awakening or an evolution of consciousness, it might be all about your pineal gland, your third eye chakra. Maybe you're getting more headaches. You can't figure out what is going on. Why do I keep feeling something right here?
Yeah.
Sometimes in the beginning of class, we'll just gently press. It's like that intuition. I like to believe that our stomach, our gut is our second brain. That's why it has all those microbes. That's why when you get nervous, you feel, we call them butterflies, or you walk into a room and you're like, oh, these mofos were just talking about me, weren't they? Your second brain, you may want to write it off with your rational brain.
Yeah.
But, it's letting you know energetically. So really you're taking that time to close your eyes and just seeing where you feel it, maybe where you feel stuck. Physically, you might feel tension, or you may just feel like this is where I need work. And maybe it's just listening to that singing bowl and seeing where it resonates with you.
Yeah, got you.
Yeah.
What is your definition of a spiritual awakening? Because, I think we all have them.
Yeah.
And I think we have them multiple times throughout our lives.
Definitely.
We just don't recognize them maybe when we do have them.
Yep.
So I think I've had them several times, and sometimes I could recognize them, but sometimes I was a little confused. You know, I didn't know if it was anxiety. I didn't know if it was like PTSD or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, how do you know what it is, and like, what does it mean to a person in their evolution?
I love that you asked that. We definitely go through many of them in our lives. Sometimes you may go through a few and then realize like, oh, that's what that was when reflecting on the past. Me personally, I just became a why person. I no longer was accepting things at face value. I always want to do my own research. It doesn't matter if you're the most popular influencer, celebrity, and I've loved you since I was a kid. I'm like, if it don't feel right, that means that I need to look into that a little bit further.
Yeah.
So spiritual evolution or awakening can be just no longer accepting the status quo. Maybe it's losing friends and places that are no longer serving you. It can be like just one day you realize hanging out in the same group of people, you no longer feel as comfortable. Like you're like, I just don't resonate the same way. And it's not because you love these people any less or they love you any less. But, you know, there's all that saying that people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And sometimes recognizing when that season has ended is key. Yes.
It's hard.
It's so
It
hard.
is key.
It's so hard. And then we can fall back like daylight savings time, you know?
Yeah, crazy.
Yes.
When it's like, okay, so are there like physical symptoms?
Yeah, so the headaches with the third eye, that can be your third eye opening, just starting to see the world in a different light. Other physical symptoms, definitely anxiety. I think sometimes we ignore things because we are so constantly on our phones and doing this, you know, just looking everywhere, but spending time with ourselves. I think the perfect example, I watched a YouTube video before I came here, and it's my struggle with technology. And I just, it's a whole different interview for a whole nother day. But a good example of, okay, let me see your phone just for a moment. So this is what he did. He said, now if you were to come up to me and you were to ask me a question and I'm holding my phone while you're asking me, you may not feel like you're the most important thing in the room or that you have my full attention.
Right.
A lot of times we think if we do this, that makes it better. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes physically moving it out, setting it on a shelf, turning off the TV. Now, Ayana, tell me what it was that you wanted to ask me. That whole thing, you know?
Yeah. That does matter.
It matters.
Yeah.
Yep.
I notice that now, even when I hang out with people or whatever, they always on their damn phone.
Always.
Like,
yes.
I'll be wanting to enjoy the moment sometimes. I don't like always being on the phone unless we're watching something together. Or like I'm showing you something. Like, if we both tuned in to two separate things, it sucks. It's like...
Yeah. Or you're out to eat at a restaurant and someone goes to the bathroom and maybe we were having great conversation and neither one of us were on our phones. But we've become so reliant on technology that the minute that person goes to the bathroom, we're like, okay, do I just look around the restaurant? Right. We don't even feel comfortable in our own company, is what I feel. Yeah. Like, we don't know how to just be with ourselves in silence. And a lot of times that says a lot in and of itself. Yeah. We don't know how to enjoy just our own company without access to the entire world, you know, without that dopamine of a follow, a like, oh, this went up, oh, I got, you know,
a new subscriber on there.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
I think I've been put in situations where I have to sit by myself now. Like even with relationships, with friendships, maybe it's my perspective changing a little bit to where I don't want to play around with certain shit no more. So I'm just kind of retreating to myself now, and it's a little lonely, but it's cool. I won't even say lonely because it's not lonely. It's just solitude.
It's solitude. And I think lonely is okay. Yeah. Because I feel like that without social media now, especially in the first, now it's been about 6 months that I've been off the social media, going on 6 months. But I would say in the first month, I'm like, all right, I'm waking up, not reaching for my phone and muscle memory. Because even if you don't want to be on Instagram, it's like the muscle memory. Next thing you know, you're like, wait, I'm on Instagram. I swear I just put my phone over there. How did this happen? Yeah. And it feels lonely because for me personally, our peers, that's where we all congregate. Yeah. You know, people don't walk up to people on the street anymore and strike up conversations. We have the most audacity to live our best lives on social media. Maybe it's because we have the time to correlate our thoughts onto paper and write the best caption, or you know what I mean, put it with a piece of artwork, and we can better, express ourselves. But it can be lonely when the majority of your peers and family are all on a few networks, and when you remove yourself from those, you really realize who cares, because someone has to text you. Like, you can't just DM me now and heart eyes or fire to my story.
Now you got to call and text because I ain't nowhere to be. You can't just...
Exactly. Yeah, my morning cup of coffee isn't reminding you that I'm alive.
Yeah.
So now you got to actually think about me and then make the effort to call or text or set up a face-to-face. So that can feel lonely when you're used to 50 likes a day and 15 DMs. And
Yeah. It's some adjusting to get used to. Like, it's a real energy shift. I ain't gonna lie to you. Okay, what are 3 character traits that you think your friends would describe you as?
3 character traits. I would say highly organized. I that's just who I am. Especially, RT would say that about me just because he sees how I organize everything. Free-spirited, definitely. I don't follow the crowd at all. The third, honest. I would have to say that. I feel like I spent a good majority of my life being a yes woman or a yes girl. I always was kind of looking for acceptance, which who isn't? That's human connection is everything. And sometimes living in your truth when it doesn't look like how everyone else is living, like you said, can be lonely.
Yeah.
And overriding that loneliness or that solitude and making it more of, this is a positive shift for my mental health, I feel like is everything.
Yeah. I try to refrain from putting myself in that victim state, why is this not happening, or why is this happening? Or like, instead of looking at it like, this is my chance to get better, like this is, I don't have nothing holding me back right now.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's uncomfortable because I'm not used to being here, but it is beneficial because it's like, I don't have nothing holding me back. No extra drama, nobody talking mess to me every day, nobody trying to hold me back, controlling me, or like,
you got it.
I feel free at the same time. So it's about perspective.
It is. Yep.
What is the difference in a big ego and a healthy ego? Because a lot of people get to talking about, I got a big ego, or it's my ego, and blah, blah, blah.
Ooh. Ego is everything. Ego will have you messed up out here.
Yeah. But it's a good and a bad side, right? What do you think the balance is?
I think the balance is... that is a good question. I'm going to have to think on this one. I mean, bad ego is, that jealousy and envy that we talk about. I think how I've shifted ego is a little... I kind of touched on it earlier, but going from a lack mindset to a growth mindset. And you explained it perfectly. We grow the most when we're uncomfortable. If your friends, your group of friends, if your circle, if your job, if it's not challenging you, you're not growing, plain and simple. That's the reason why we cross-train when you're trying to build different muscles. It's why you do, different types of workouts. And the same thing goes with spiritual, emotional, and mental growth. And ego will have you feeling like, why is this happening for this person, but it's not happening for me? And that always comes back to that lack. So let's say, my goal is I'm going to have $50,000 in my savings account. So instead of focusing the next day on, I just got an overdraft fee, instead of focusing on that lack, switching that perspective and finding a growth mindset in that. Not I don't have, but I'm going to have. What do I need to do to get this? Because a lot of times we can wallow in what we don't have or what's going wrong versus what's going right. And a lot of times that's our ego. We don't want to feel like we're less than or we have less than the next person. A lot of that is ego. The good side of ego, I think, is facing your fears, because they say success is on the other side of your fears. A good example in my personal life is I always had a fear of heights. Now,
same.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I think
Yes.
like in my past life, I might
fell
have
from a
died
building or something. Girl, me too. I really think it's an irrational fear. Because I'm like, I know I'm fine. Why am I tripping right now?
Only we understand because we scared of heights.
Exactly.
But people always ask me that, like, you're so scared of heights. You don't want to get on a roller coaster? Nope.
Now, see, what I will say is mine's a very specific fear because I actually love roller coasters. I don't mind flying. My fear of heights is ascending on my own 2 feet, going upstairs without being buckled in, without railings, or because I'm tall. You're tall too.
Yeah.
A lot of like balconies on buildings, they don't be tall for tall people. They're like right here. So like I'll get that woozy when I look over the edge, like that type of irrational. So when I graduated college, I told myself like, I'm going to jump out of an airplane because I can't think of anything scarier than that in my life.
Yeah.
And so I worked up the courage, and it took me to like 3 years after college graduation to do it.
You did it?
But I did the damn thing.
Oh my God.
And it was the most exhilarating thing to this. I was 24. I'm 32 now.
I want to do that. I want to do that.
Yes.
I'm not ready yet, but I want to do it.
Girl, yes. I don't think I would do it by myself, but I did the tandems. I got the professional on my back in case I pass out.
Yeah. What was the feeling like?
The feeling is nothing like a roller coaster. I think when you get on roller coasters, it's like your stomach's in your throat.
Yeah.
You feel that like, ooh, it's nothing like that. It is, I would say, the closest thing to flying. So when you first fall out of the plane, your rational mind is like, this is not natural. But 2 seconds in, you instantly are like, you're light as a feather. You're seeing the world from this whole different perspective. You're defying gravity. Well, not technically because you're plummeting towards Earth. It just don't feel like it.
Yeah.
But it was an amazing feeling. Like I would definitely do it again. And it doesn't feel like you're plummeting to your death. It feels,
doesn't?
No, you feel light as a feather.
What?
Yes.
You look like you are, but you don't feel like it. That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
That's the part of it that surprised me the most. Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do it. I was going to wait till my 30th birthday, but I think I'm going to probably try to do it before then.
There you go.
I get the courage.
Let me know. I could go again with you,
Yeah. So you could tell me to calm down. Don't chicken out. I'm already in the sky. Just jump. Yes. So what are ways that a person can maintain a healthy ego?
I think honoring your emotions as they come, not beating yourself up when you're meditating and you start thinking about like, oh yeah, I forgot to pay that bill, or oh, I got to do this when I'm done. Just honoring yourself and giving yourself space to feel whatever you're feeling. We place these restrictions on ourselves sometimes, and I feel like ego can get in the way of that. The biggest thing with battling ego is, for me, I read something that said, when you walk into a room or a party and you're trying to, communicate with people face to face, instead of trying to get people to like you, try to find reasons to like them. And that is a great way to quiet your own ego. Because instead of walking in like, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, like this, you should like me because insert A. I'm going to like see something about you and dive a little bit deeper. Get past those surface level conversations of how much respect should I give you based on your occupation, and find like a real way I can connect with something that, and then leave that conversation liking you more than when I walked up, and making it less about me. Because people, they say, people don't remember a lot of things, but they remember how you made them feel. And I think if we focus more on making other people feel good, that energy just comes back tenfold.
To us. Yeah. What is your take on the mental health in our generation? Do you think that because we have all of this information is getting better? Or do you think it's neutral? Or do you think it's getting bad because we have all of this information?
Yeah. So that's a tough one because everybody's different. My struggle with social media may not be the next person's struggle. So they may be like, okay, just because you comparing yourself and you feel in a certain type of way don't mean that I can get on there and not feel like that. So, I really feel like it's to each his own. But technology personally, I feel like it has a negative effect on our mental health because a lot of the the relationships and the communication we have is synthetic. It's not face to face. If we're looking for that dopamine, we're just going to open an app. Or if you're looking for a date, you can swipe on Tinder and have 3 dates that night. It takes out the boring part of being human, which is time. The best things in life take time. Like if it comes easy, it's probably not the best thing for you, or it's going to leave just as easily as it came. So the same thing with mental health. I feel like it's just this delicate balance of like using technology not to where it's a huge part of your life. But I mean, that could go, people are like, well, I mean, you use electricity, right? You flush your toilet, right? So I don't mean that type of technology. Although I do feel like the Nature Fix, there's a book I'm reading called The Nature Fix, and it's about, just battling depression and how we can find happiness just by spending time in nature. So I feel like mental health really, we have a lot of access to information, but a lot of the information we have is on this little device that can go so south so quickly because it is so addicting with the dopamine,
Do you think it's us that's using it wrong, or do you think that it's social media itself that, because humans are destructive, so
yes.
like
you're right. Part of it is psychology. Politics is science. That's what my bachelor's degree is in, political science. So a lot of times, my sister, she's a doctor, and we have conversations. A lot of people want to fall right into the medical science. Well, if medical science doesn't back this up, what we don't realize is that marketing and politics a lot of times are based on psychology, which is medical science, and they're using it against us. Yeah. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook,
ads, commercials.
Yes, it's all to figure out how to keep you on there the longest amount of time. And a lot of times they say, if you're not on Instagram buying a product, if you're not consuming, then you are the product, which we are. If we're not spending money on Instagram, it's because they're making money off of collecting our data. So that's
either way it goes, it's just like...
Yep.
I seen a post that was funny the other day, though. It said, y'all think y'all doing something by putting ads in the middle of my video, but you're really pissing me off to where I don't want to buy it. That's real. Facts. Like, don't be trying to cut me off and, try this new lotion. Like, I don't even want to try it now. Cause,
exactly.
Like, you cutting me off. Like, that's not how you grab my attention anymore.
It's true. It's so true. With because I do tarot on YouTube, and some people, either they believe or they don't. That's fine. It's like, if that's your thing, if that's your cup of tea, it is. But when I was working up to making my channel monetize, a lot of people hate ads. I get it, but... the ads, I don't sell anything in the middle of my readings. Yeah. But the ads rolling in general make some people be like, why do I have to watch this right now? You know? But what I learned is when I was figuring out how to market, because marketing is all psychology, what I'll notice is when you open up a YouTube video, sometimes the first thing out of someone's mouth is, make sure you like and subscribe if you're here. I'm a like, and I haven't even heard nothing from you yet. Give me a chance to figure out if I like what you even talking about first, And this one girl's like, I'm gonna let you in on a secret. If people want to subscribe, they're gonna subscribe.
Right. That's what I do when I want to subscribe. If I watch it first and then talk about hold on, before you finish watching, go can I finish seeing what you gonna say?
If you find a little good segue in there to where you really just drop the bomb, and then you're just like, now if this is resonating with you, then click that like button. But if it's off the gate, you're asking me for something, I'm like, you didn't even give me anything yet. You know what I'm saying?
That's funny. We're getting a little thirsty out here, man. Okay, so we almost are out of time, but my last couple of questions are back regarding to like meditation and yoga. What is namaste to you?
Namaste is the divine in me bows to the divine in you. And so I say that at the end of practice. I don't think people realize that that's what the namaste translates to. Okay. And it's just recognizing that no matter how physically different we look, no matter what your social economic status is, how much education you have, like I see you. If you're homeless, I'm from the Midwest where people smile and wave at each other. When I first moved to LA, I'm like, people just rude out here because because they can be. I don't like in New York. It makes sense. People hustle and bustle. There's no room on the sidewalk. People here act like they don't see you when you're right in their face. So I think it's just very important, that human connection, because how are you an influencer and you have millions of subscribers, but you walk down the street and you can't smile at somebody? You never know, that smile could save someone's life. You know, so that, like, the divine in me recognizes that divine in you goes a long way. Like, I'm no better than you. You know what I mean? With no matter how many followers I have, no matter where I live, it's just that recognition of we're all souls. This little meat sack body I'm rocking,
right.
you know,
temporary.
It's temporary.
Right. Exactly. That's so true, and that's so real. Well, time went so fast. I didn't even realize it. That's usually how it goes here. Since nobody can find you on social medias, what do you have? You have a website, right?
I do have a website, yeah. So it's namastewithlay.com, and Lay is Lae.
Okay.
So namastewithlay.com.
I'm going to have that up.
Perfect. And then if you are interested in tarot, you know, I do spiritual videos there as well. It's Namaste with Lay, a.k.a. Black Bunny.
Your YouTube channel.
Yep, Black Bunny Tarot. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You do a little bit of everything.
I really do, girl.
Yes. Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
I didn't even get to everything, but I want you to come back.
I was going to say, that just means you have to have me back.
Yeah,
because clearly
that's exactly
I have a lot to say.
Yeah. And thank you guys for watching.
Thank you.